Once upon a time, there were dinosaurs and magic carpets. Wait, what? What do dinosaurs and magic carpets have in connection with paintings of still life fruit bowls? Let me explain. In the beginning, and I mean old school beginning, fruit bowls were among the most classic still life subjects. In fact, in the days of yore, a fancy fruit bowl was considered a status symbol, since only people in the upper echelons could afford such elaborate display. So, here we have the traditional still life setup: a bowl, some fruit, maybe a wine bottle, and back in the day, sometimes even the occasional dead rabbit thrown into the mix. Aw, sorry, Bunny. A few years back, I became obsessed with painting fruit bowls. If I'm being honest, I think I got obsessed with collecting fake fruit. Something I almost hate to admit, because I'm usually a natural food sort of person. But I couldn't help myself, as you can see. My excuse is, if anyone asks, is I live in the tropics, which means bugs, moisture, and mold, and the last thing I wanted was a studio filled with rotting fruit and insect life. So in this video, I'm taking you on a little journey, starting with this traditional fruit bowl setup, then moving on to the not so traditional, and finally an exploration into the wild. Explore the theme of still life fruit bowls in a fresh new way. I invited my artist friend Katherine to join in. Much of Katherine's artwork leans in the direction of outsider art, which made her the perfect candidate for this experiment. An outsider artist is someone who follows their own instincts and creates work that often feels raw, wild, and wonderfully weird. So, I met up with Katherine in her jungle art studio, where we often meet to explore new painting subjects and techniques. To prepare for our sessions, we made up a few materials in advance. For our first batch of non-traditional fruit bowls, I chose a bright background to give the painting some non-traditional energy. I start by priming this heavyweight mixed media paper with 1 or 2 coats of gesso. After that dries, I smear on some color. This time around, I used a combination of fluorescent pink and red. And the color does not need to be perfectly smooth. In fact, I think it has more character when it isn't. Many of the collage papers in our paintings are made on a jelly plate with acrylic paints. This flat, sticky jelly-like surface is used with a roller or brayer to make monoprints. For easy cleanup, I'm using invisible paint today. I love this thing. I've had mine for years, and it's still going strong. There are countless ways to use these jelly plates for prints, but today I'll show you the solid color collage papers we created for the artwork I'm about to share. Here I have a mix of papers: printer papers, different types of rice paper, tissue paper, but you can use a variety of papers, even recycled mail, envelopes, whatever you have on hand. The amount of paint that is used for these prints depends on the type of paper. If you're interested in the monoprinting technique, I would suggest experimenting, and you'll find your way. Also, for this project, we created a special effects paper using tracing paper, which adds a nice translucent quality to the print. To create this paper, we layered acrylic paint and acrylic mediums onto the tracing paper, using sponges, brushes, and watercolor pencils, leaving some clear between so the background color could show through. I thought I'd start with this first image because this is where the Fruit Bowls Gone Wild theme originated. It also turned into a great exercise for any of us who are struggling with letting go. In the past, the fruit in my fruit bowl paintings usually sat politely wherever I placed them in the bowl. But maybe it was the energy of this bright background that changed the mood, because this time around the fruit refused to sit still. So after struggling with it for a bit, I finally decided to just let it happen and allow the fruit to do its thing. Honestly, I think it turned out more interesting in the end. And I should mention the tablecloth below the fruit bowl is a poem I wrote, then cut into strips and glued to the bottom of the painting, but I'll share more about that later. Now this one went a little off script, since my fruit container here is not a bowl but a cardboard box, which is actually a piece of cardboard box that I collaged onto the paper. Several decades ago, fruit was shipped in wooden crates with beautifully painted labels. So this is what inspired me to create my own fun fruit box label. Appletopia Orchards, your happily ever apple. I got really excited about the colors in this one. The rich red watermelon, the bright orange slices, the yellow grapefruit sun, and those abstract blackberries. They sort of look like dominoes. I came up with those rectangular blackberries after trying to cut out a few tiny realistic berry clusters, which was not fun. So I switched to the abstract version, and honestly, I like them so much better. I think it gives the fruit bowl a little edginess. So, again, if you're struggling with something in your art, try a new direction. Something that moves you into a more playful place, because sometimes that's where you can discover something new and unexpected. So, when is a fruit bowl not a fruit bowl? Well, I went completely off script with this one and painted not a fruit bowl, but a root bowl. And for lack of a better name, I titled it Root Bowl at Sunset. And in case you're wondering, those little specks in the background are supposed to be fireflies, though I'm thinking now they might look more like giant gnats or flies, but you get the idea. I love how Katherine's collection of contemporary Zen-style fruit bowls came together. The offset composition in this piece is really clever, I think, and I especially like the contrast between the dark fruit bowl and the colorful fruit against that bright, translucent background. In this next image, the simplicity of the black bowl creates a bold focal point and a strong contrast with the vibrant fruit and the glowing background that was created from the translucent, hand-painted paper. I'm really drawn to the non-traditional shape of this fruit bowl. It almost looks like a tropical ice cream sundae to me. The vivid background colors enhance that contemporary fine art vibe. I really like this piece. And finally, I love the personality and energy of this last piece. The fruit looks like it's having fun, either flying or sledding downhill. I can totally imagine Katherine's collection of fruit bowls hanging in the kitchen of a stylish, high-end apartment somewhere. So, to start our little exploration into fruit bowls gone wild, I took a series of photographs to use for collage. Then I did a full-on photo shoot of my husband's 1950s plastic dinosaur collection. Thank goodness we kept them all these years. I just knew they'd come in handy someday. Oh, and the cavemen too. Because when we were growing up, we honestly didn't know that cavemen and dinosaurs never shared the planet. Toys like these, and of course growing up with the Flintstones, really blurred the lines for us. Because in reality, cavemen didn't come onto the scene until dinosaurs had been extinct for about 65 million years or so. I had an inkling at that point that I wasn't going to use the dinosaurs in my fruit bowl art, but I was very hopeful that Katherine, with her outsider art tendencies, would fall for them. I even gave them a whole sales pitch. Aren't these cool? Wouldn't dinosaurs in a fruit bowl be fun? She didn't seem overly enthusiastic about the dinosaurs, but I still had my hopes. Along with the dinosaur images, I also took photos of random bits around the yard, cacti, odd flowers, and even some non-related fruit bowl items. And I even threw in some black and white images of magic carpets. Here I'll walk you through a few steps as to how our final Fruit Bowls Gone Wild artwork was created, from the initial idea to the materials and techniques used, and some challenges along the way, so that you can see the choices we made that shaped our final pieces. So I started with a piece of heavyweight multimedia paper. This one was already in a blue-gray tone, which I coated with a clear gesso and a partial wash of lime green. Next, I added some black and white photograph collage elements. You can see the succulents at the top, and then I added some stems or tree trunks that were pieces of a fence that I photographed, a bamboo fence. Next, I tore up some photographs of the black and white images of the magic carpet and glued those, or used a clear acrylic medium to glue those down to a piece of cream-colored collage paper. Then I cut up that piece of magic carpet collage paper into a fruit bowl and glued it onto the page. Now it looks like there's trees coming out of the fruit bowl. Maybe it's a window behind. I didn't really know at this point in time. After that, I added some fruit to the bowl. Well, it's not actually fruit, but pieces of cactuses and flowers, and then I added some more succulent trees behind. Not sure where it's going, but we'll see. Here I began to add colors to the fruit bowl and fruit with some acrylic washes. And more color. I really like the yellow fruit bowl. I thought maybe I was going with a green background, but then I decided to change it to a blue background. And this is what is referred to as the messy middle. I stopped here, took the piece home, and worked on it for a while, several days actually, because, I had other things to do, like dishes and laundry, but I'll get back to this one at the end. First, I'm going to show you Katherine's progression. As you can see, Katherine started out totally abstract with her fruit bowl image, and I'm wondering where she's going with this one, but it turns out totally different in the end, as you shall see. I was really happy to see that Katherine went for the dinosaurs and the cavemen and some little bits of foliage in the mix, but yeah, hard to know where she's going from here, but it's going to turn out very interesting in the end, I promise you that. Still not seeing the fruit bowl, but I think it's getting interesting. Well, stay tuned for the next image. There's a fruit bowl. I'm loving this color, this teal color here. And yeah, all the dinosaurs and plant life. Well, I'm curious to see how this is going to turn out. So this is where I left Katherine when she arrived at the messy middle in her piece of artwork. But I was really disappointed to see that she was scrubbing out the dinosaurs, or so it appeared so, and the cavemen. And we'll see what happens in the end. So here we are, back to where we left off. And yeah, now it's time to reveal the final. And now it's time to reveal Katherine's piece, and I think you'll be very surprised by this one. So this was an interesting experiment, bringing in elements that weren't directly connected to the theme of the artwork. I think it kind of tweaks your imagination and shifts your perspective, taking you out of your comfort zone a bit, so to speak. And I found that surprising things often come out of that process, such as the poem in the tablecloth I mentioned earlier. This is not just a fruit bowl, but a ruby-jeweled pomegranate glistening in the sun, a sweet fig elixir, a rhythm, ancient, primeval, a fusion of memory, carried by branch and seed, vines and roots winding beneath. This is not just a fruit bowl, but a memory of summer, my feet in the creek, spitting watermelon seeds. But wait! That's not my memory, but something from an old movie or story that's been told for as long as I recall, one that I hope lives on, with more memories to come. That is, if we're not replaced by AI anytime soon. But tell me, will AI ever sit atop a checkered picnic cloth, leaning against the old apple tree, whiling away the hours with nothing to do but be? This is not just a fruit bowl, but a human experience, a sacred vessel of life, evolved over eons of time. No, this is not just a fruit bowl. It's an offering of sharing, of caring, a vision of hope for the world, and a prayer of plenty for all.